of 2.3 million people since May 2013. In just 1 year, the number of displaced children increased by over 60% from 800,000 to 1.3 million, making this Africa's fastest growing displacement crisis. In its latest report, Beyond Chibok, Unicef highlights a tenfold increase in the number of children used in suicide attacks in the region. More than 75%, that's 3/4 of these, are girls.
2 years have gone since the abduction of the Chibok girls. Scores are still being torn from their families. Exploitation, abuse and recruitment by armed groups are the grim future these children face. The new Unicef data puts the number of those displaced by the Boko Haram insurgency in the region at a staggering 2.3 million. Yet the world barely notices. So just how desperate is it on the ground? Well, the UNICEF report shows us some alarming trends. For one, the number of children used in suicide attacks is spiraling from a mere 4 in 2014 to 44 last year alone. Between January 2014 and February this year, Cameroon recorded the highest number of suicide attacks involving children at 21, followed by Nigeria at 17 and Chad at 2. Nearly 1 out of every 5 suicide bombers is a child, and 3/4 of these are girls. With 2.3 million people displaced, this makes it one of Africa's fastest growing humanitarian crises, with women and children bearing the brunt of it. Boys are forced to attack their own families to show loyalty to Boko Haram, and girls are exposed to severe abuse and sexual violence, forced into marriage to fighters. And if you're lucky enough to escape, it's yet another grueling battle for survival. Children who have escaped or were released by armed groups are often seen as potential security threats, as shown in recent research by UNICEF and International Alert. Children born as a result of sexual violence also encounter stigma and further discrimination in their villages. UNICEF last year provided aid to 145,000 children through counseling and psychosocial support. The conflict has had a huge impact on the already fragile education systems of Nigeria, Cameroon, Chad and Niger. Nearly 2,000 schools are damaged and looted, and teachers are afraid to go back to class. The conflict is also compounding the nutrition crisis in the region. Insecurity, displacement and unfavorable weather conditions have resulted in acute malnutrition. Last year, UNICEF only received 44% of its funding requirement. This year, the agency needs $97 million to provide life-saving aid to families affected by Boko Haram violence. Only 11 million has been received so far. So until the world sits up and notices, and we see firmer commitment from national governments and the international community, thousands of these children risk not being reached.
Fires broke out in Ecuador.